My grant was for a makerspace, and it was a low to medium tech makerspace because we already had a high-tech makerspace in the building. And I'm going to have to traverse across my screen. Our problem of practice was providing students in grades 7 through 12 access to tools for for hands-on creative making, both formally and informally. Something that I saw, I do English and I do Spanish and I do the library and some other things, but something that I had noticed over the years was that when students had to make things, if they had projects to make, models to make, posters to make, presentations to make, they invariably came and said, Miss B, do you have? Sometimes I did and sometimes I didn't, and I wanted to create some spaces where I sort of always had things that they needed. This is just a picture of some usage. Some of the things that I did were very low-cost things. This is a destination imagination challenge, actually, where I leave some sheets out with some things, and you had to construct a game. Basically, you had to construct a game, and they had things like straws and cupcake holders and pencils and construction paper. It was very interesting to watch them create things. And a lot of times those things were just sitting around for them to work on. Probably the most popular item in the entire makerspace, even though it's a 7 through 12 school, were the Legos. Legos are forever more popular, and if for some bizarre reason I forgot to leave the Legos out on the makerspace table, Miss B, where'd you put the Legos? Okay, so any free time, any I'm finished, can I time, any I'm waiting for my test to begin time, invariably it was Legos. Sometimes, go back a little bit. It's okay. Sometimes I had directions or challenges. There were some challenges I made that laid there that said things like, replicate one of the ruins from blah, 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 or create a wheeled vehicle that could blah, 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 create a creature. Some of them were, like this was a create a creature. That's what that one is. This is one of the wheeled vehicles, and they had some instructions. These were items that moved, so the tops spun. So it was just real interesting to watch them build. Some of the very organized makerspace things that we did, this was one of the more popular ones. With my English teachers, we collaborated and we did a literary Christmas ornament. And we used items from the makerspace, and we put a Christmas tree up in the library. But students had to creatively create a Christmas ornament based on their favorite literary work. This one is a toilet paper tube. This came from the trash to treasure section. It is some scenes out of The Fault in Our Stars. She spent a long time just drawing and pulling out her favorite quotes, her favorite scenes from the book. This one is from There Will Come Soft Rains, and that's popsicle sticks and paint. So very, like I said, low tech, but lots of creativity. Medium tech, these are scenes. Some of these scenes are just, see there you see the Christmas tree again, are just scenes from things we had going on, and some of them are from our tech camp. I actually have a couple of Spiros. Those I purchased with library funds, not with the grant, but we ran them in conjunction. Osmo, I was a little hesitant about Osmo at first. I thought it might be a little lower level than I needed, but the kids loved it. And something that we sometimes take for granted, but I didn't because I do not possess this ability. My husband will attest to this. I am very weak in directional and pattern thinking. And things like this challenged me. I discovered I wasn't alone. Great for the kids. Virtual reality. We got a couple of $15 virtual reality goggles. You stick a smartphone in them and you use the Discovery VR app. And, well, Mr. Davidson did it one day. It's really neat. You can swim with the sharks and visit museums and all sorts of things, and you stick some headphones that you have for the sound. The kids and the adults love it. I got some makey-makeys. We had a lot of fun with makey-makeys and Play-Doh and Reynolds Wrap and just some simple programming coding. This is actually a video, if it brought it over. Do you have a link to... It didn't bring it over. Well, they made drums. This is a Play-Doh drum, so they play. And then I think on the next photo they have a, and these were also videos. These were Kiva planks. Does anybody else have Kiva planks? Kiva planks are awesome. They're just these little symmetrical pieces of birch wood and you can build almost anything out of them. This was a video, so one of our can you back up? One of our engineering challenges one day, I had several students in here working, and so we had like 4 stations of this set up. But one of them was called roll, bounce, and drop, which is deceptively simple, but there are a lot of forces at work there. There's a velocity at work here. You've got to roll it down this and bounce it from this into this. And probably surprisingly, but not surprisingly, if that makes sense, one of the more difficult things to get past was that it's okay to fail mindset. A lot of students would show up the first time, oh, I can't do this, it didn't work. I was like, it's okay, try again. And so eventually, by the time a few days passed, they were like, it's okay, we can fail, we can try again. So this took probably 5 tries before they got it adjusted just to the right height, just to the right angle. But when they got it to go into the catch, they were so excited. And then there were other kids. Classes reserve the makerspace. My science teacher loves to do it. And we usually just set up stations. On this particular day that I pulled this plan from, we had Sphero, we had build challenges. This is a build challenge. It's literally Play-Doh and coffee stir sticks. And the students are challenged to design the largest freestanding structure that they can design and then to connect them together. So there's a lot of teamwork there. There's a lot of try, fail, try again, working together. So it's just very interesting to watch. It's a lot of fun. A lot of times I'll just get in there with them, and we have a lot of fun with that. We did some hour of code on the computers. The Kiva planks, they love those. Legos, Makey Makes. And I was discarding books, and so we ended up doing a lot of blackout poetry because I did a STEAM makerspace, so I included the arts. I had a lot of kids that came in, they're like, what? You're doing what today? I was like, we're doing blackout I don't like poetry, Miss B. Poetry's not my thing, Miss B. Well, by the time it was over, will you hang mine too? Can I come back? And so they ended up going out in the hall. I had 2 little girls went out in the hall and picked up 2 discarded books and said, can I take these home? I want to do this with my mom. And I had one little girl, I had her, I hate to tell this, I'm really old. I had her mother in class in 10th grade. And I said, would you ask your mom if she would make me one of these? And so she brought it back to me the following Monday, and she handed it to me, and her mother had written on it, here's my homework. And she had made me a blackout poem. So it kind of went beyond the school walls and I say play, because we were playing. The kids were playing, but they were doing teamwork, they were doing problem solving, they were thinking creatively. My dad I collected, and in my grant I said I would do surveys. There were no beginning surveys because it didn't exist. There just really was nothing to ask them about a free kind of work makerspace because we didn't have one. So first question I had is, have you even used it? This disappointed me some. You always have these grandiose dreams of everybody will use it and love it, but a little over half of the students that I surveyed. So that, that's not bad. If you can get half the first year. This made me happy, and I actually collected these in 3 different ways. There was a bin by the front door that had a simple check-it-off survey. There was a survey monkey that I sent out for those that wanted to email, and then there was a bucket over at the Lego station that said, tell me what you think. So 96% of the students felt comfortable. 4% said no, and 2 of those responses said, could you be nicer? So I think they might have got in trouble. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Have you learned something new in the library this school year? So 67%, so 2/3 said yes. So that's not bad. I felt pretty good about that. The 2 favorites, Legos, which I knew just from watching, but I thought Kivas might be second, but they weren't. Just the trash to treasure items where they could come in and get toilet paper tubes, Reynolds wrap, leftover coffee stirrers, cupcake wrappers, pieces of lace. I just asked people, just bring me your junk. If it's good, I'll put it on the stand. And then the 2 things that students told me they would like to see to make it better, they wanted quarterly challenges. So they liked those days that we set up or the days that we worked with their classroom teachers to create an actual, this is a challenge for the whole X class, Y class. And then just more activities sitting around. Those were their 2 things. So what that suggested to me is that they responded well to both the informal and the formal opportunities. I worried a little about the informal. That teacher in you's like, it has to be structured. But they really responded well to it, and no one abused it at all. That's it. That was my project.